You know what's funny about buying a TV in 2026? We spend more time researching than we ever did back when TVs lasted 20 years. And somehow, we still end up regretting our choices. I'm talking about the TCL QM8K and the LG C6 OLED. Two TVs that have people arguing online like it's a religion. But here's the thing nobody's telling you. One of these TVs is going to disappoint you, and it all depends on one simple thing you probably didn't think about when you walked into Best Buy. Before we get into that, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. And drop a comment below. Which TV are you using right now, and what problems are you actually facing with it? Because I guarantee someone else in the comments is dealing with the exact same frustration. Now, let's talk about why someone like me, someone who's been buying TVs since the days of wood-paneled Zeniths, actually regrets one of these purchases. The big misconception. So what's the first thing you need to know about these two TVs? The TCL QM8K is not an OLED. Wait, what? That's right, despite what the title might suggest, the TCL QM8K is a mini LED TV released in 2025. The LG C6, on the other hand, is a true OLED, their 2026 model. Why does this matter? Because the technology inside these screens is completely different. And that difference is why people end up regretting their choice 6 months down the line. Understanding the technology. How different are we talking? Think about it like this. Mini LED uses thousands of tiny LED backlights behind the screen, like having 5,000 little flashlights trying to create your picture. OLED lights up each individual pixel, no backlight needed. When a pixel needs to be black, it just turns off completely. So which one's better? Well, that's where the regret starts, because the answer isn't what you think. The one question that changes everything. Let me ask you something. Where is your TV right now? Is it in a living room with big windows and sunlight streaming in during the day? Or is it in a basement media room with blackout curtains and controlled lighting? Because that one question determines everything. Brightness. The deal maker or deal breaker? Why does room brightness matter so much? The TCL QM8K can hit over 2,000 nits of peak brightness in HDR content. What does that actually mean? It means when the sun is pouring through your living room window at 2 in the afternoon, you can still see the picture clearly. The colors pop, the highlights shine, and you're not squinting trying to figure out what's happening in a dark scene. The LG C6 OLED, even the newer 2026 model, it tops out around 1,000 to 250 nits, depending on which size you bought. And here's where it gets tricky. If you bought one of the smaller sizes, the 42-inch, 55-inch, or even 65-inch models, you're getting basically the same brightness as last year's C5. Wait, so what changed? Not much, unless you went big and got the 77-inch or 83-inch models with the new tandem OLED panels. Those are actually brighter, almost 4 times brighter than some of LG's older models. But if you bought the smaller one thinking you were getting that same upgrade, that's regret number 1. Who's regretting the LG C6? So who's regretting the LG C6? People who put it in bright rooms. I'm talking living rooms, kitchens, dens with lots of natural light. They watch TV during the day, and suddenly that perfect black level everyone raved about doesn't matter because the whole screen looks dim and washed out. The reflections from windows show up more than the actual picture. And when they try to turn up the brightness, the TV just doesn't have enough power to compete with the sunlight. What are they saying online? Reddit and YouTube comments are full of people saying the same thing. I love this TV at night, but during the day I regret not getting something brighter. One user specifically mentioned that in filmmaker mode, which is supposed to be the most accurate, the full screen HDR brightness barely hits 230 nits. How bad is that? That's dimmer than most smartphones on half brightness. So if you're someone who watches TV during the day, that old magic starts to feel like a very expensive mistake. Who's regretting the TCL QM8K? But hold on, what about the people regretting the TCL? Oh, they exist, and their story is just as frustrating. Who's regretting the QM8K? People who put it in dark rooms expecting old level blacks and got something close, but not quite there. Because here's the thing about Mini LED. No matter how many dimming zones you have, and the QM8K has over 5,000 zones, it's still a backlight trying to turn off behind a pixel. What does that create? Blooming. You know that subtle halo you see around bright objects on a dark background, like white text on a black screen, or stars in a night sky scene? That's blooming, and OLED doesn't have it because the pixels just turn completely off. TCL did a great job minimizing it with their anti-halo technology, but it's still there if you look for it. And if you're a movie purist who watches in a dark room and notices every little detail, that's going to bother you. TCL reliability concerns. What else are TCL buyers complaining about? Reliability and shipping damage. How common is this? More common than it should be. There are multiple reports, especially from Best Buy deliveries, of people receiving their $2,000 QM8K with cracked screens, damaged corners, or panels that failed within the first year. One person posted photos of their 98-inch QM8K delivered with a massive crack right down the middle. What did Best Buy do? In some cases, they replaced it, but the process was a headache involving return windows, restocking fees, and waiting weeks for a new unit. And here's the kicker. Some of these failures happened just after the warranty expired, leaving people stuck with a very expensive repair bill or a dead TV. LG OLED long-term risk. Is this a TCL-only problem? No, and that's important to understand. LG OLEDs have their own issues, specifically burn-in and panel longevity. What's burn-in? It's when static images like channel logos, news tickers, or video game HUDs get permanently burned into the screen after thousands of hours of use. Does it happen to everyone? No, but it happens enough that LG includes warnings about it in their manuals. And if you're someone who watches a lot of news, sports with scoreboards, or plays the same video game for hours every day, you're at higher risk. How much does a panel replacement cost out of warranty? We're talking $1,000 or more, sometimes almost as much as buying a new TV. The honest buying decision. So both TVs have risks, just different ones. The TCL might fail mechanically or arrive damaged, while the LG might develop burn-in or just feel too dim in your room setup. What does this mean for someone trying to decide right now? It means you have to be honest about how you're actually going to use this TV. Let me ask you again. Do you watch TV during the day with the lights on and windows open? If yes, the TCL QM8K is probably the better choice, even with its risks. Why? Because a TV you can actually see is better than a TV with perfect blacks that you can't enjoy in your lighting conditions. But what if you watch mostly at night, in a controlled dark room, and you care about movies looking exactly the way the director intended? Then the LG C6 OLED makes more sense, especially if you go for the larger sizes with the brighter tandem panels. Sound quality, the overlooked factor. Now let's talk about something most reviews skip over: sound quality. Why does this matter? Because not everyone wants to spend another $500 on a soundbar right after buying a $2,000 TV. What's the TCL QM8K got for speakers? A 90-watt Bang & Olufsen tuned system with full-range drivers, woofers, tweeters, and even the option to add a subwoofer. How does that sound? Loud, clear, with actual bass that you can feel? Way better than most TVs. You can watch movies and not feel like you're missing half the audio. What about the LG C6? It's got 40 to 60 watts depending on the size, and frankly, it's weak. The dialogue is clear enough, but there's no bass, no punch, and action scenes sound thin and tinny. LG does include Dolby Atmos support, which is great for height and spatial effects, but only if you connect external speakers. Out of the box, the TCL wins this one easily. What if you do plan to use a soundbar anyway? Then this doesn't matter, and both TVs pass through Dolby Atmos and its audio just fine, though LG dropped DET support in some recent models, so check your specific unit. Pricing reality check. Let's get to the part that really stings. Pricing. How much are we talking for these TVs in March 2026? The TCL QM8K 65-inch is going for around $1,200 to $1,500 depending on sales at Best Buy or Amazon. What about the LG C6 in the same size? You're looking at $2,000 to $2,500. That's a significant difference, nearly double in some cases. What do you get for that extra $1,000? Perfect blacks, better color accuracy out of the box, and the old wow factor that's hard to describe until you see it in person. But you're also getting lower brightness, the risk of burn-in, and weaker speakers. Is it worth it? That depends on what you value more, accuracy and contrast, or brightness and value. What if you want the biggest screen possible? The TCL QM8K 98-inch is around $5,000, which sounds like a lot until you realize a 98-inch OLED would cost 3 times that if it even existed. LG's biggest size is 83 inches, and that'll run you close to $5,000 or more depending on the retailer. So for sheer size and brightness on a budget, TCL dominates. Buying smart. What to know before you purchase? Here's something else you need to know. How easy are these to actually buy right now? Both are widely available, but there's a catch. What's the catch? Online pricing is often better than in-store, but in-store lets you see the picture quality in person before you commit. And here's the thing most people don't realize. The TV you see on display in Best Buy or Costco is usually running in a special demo mode, with brightness cranked way up and motion smoothing turned on to make it look more impressive. What does that mean? The TV you take home and set up won't look exactly like that until you spend time adjusting the settings. How do you know what you're really getting? You research reviews from sites like Arteens, Net, or YouTube channels that do professional calibrations and show real-world testing. You don't just trust what the sales floor looks like. And you definitely ask about the return policy before you buy. Return policies and fine print. What's the return window like? Most retailers give you 15 to 30 days, but some have restocking fees, especially on open box or large TVs. Read the fine print before you leave the store or click buy now. Can you return it if you just don't like the picture? Usually yes, but some retailers are stricter if the box is damaged or the TV has been wall mounted. Warranty considerations. Let's talk about the warranty situation. What kind of warranty comes with these TVs? Both TCL and LG include a standard 1-year manufacturer's warranty. What does that cover? Defects, failures, and issues that aren't your fault, like a panel dying or the software bricking itself. What doesn't it cover? Physical damage from shipping, burn-in on the OLED, or problems that show up after the first year. Should you buy an extended warranty? This is controversial, but here's my take after decades of buying electronics. If you're buying the TCL and you're worried about reliability based on what people are reporting, an extended warranty through Best Buy or Costco might give you peace of mind. If you're buying the LG and you're going to use it heavily for gaming or news with static images, the extended warranty that specifically covers burn-in might be worth it. But read the terms carefully because some warranties exclude burn-in entirely. Market trends and what they mean. What's the market situation right now in 2026? LG dominates old sales, holding about 51% of the North American market and 56% in Europe. They've been the old leader for years, and that's not changing anytime soon. But TCL is rising fast in the premium mini LED space, capturing around 20 to 25% of the market by undercutting Samsung and Sony on price while delivering comparable brightness and features. What does that tell you? People are willing to compromise on perfect blacks if it means saving $1,000 and getting a brighter TV for daytime viewing. And TCL knows that, which is why they're pricing aggressively and adding features like Bang & Olufsen audio to sweeten the deal. Other options worth considering. Are there other competitors you should consider? Absolutely. Samsung has their QN90D and QN95D Mini LED TVs, which are brighter than the TCL in some cases, but also more expensive. Sony has the X95L and A95L, with the A95L being a QD OLED that's brighter than LG's WOLED but also costs significantly more. So why are we only comparing these two? Because they represent the best value in their respective categories right now. TCL for affordable mini LED brightness and LG for mainstream OLED quality. The reality of TV longevity. Let me ask you something personal. How long are you planning to keep this TV? 5 years? 10 years? 20? Because here's the reality we don't like to talk about. TVs don't last like they used to. Remember when your parents bought a TV in 1985 and it was still working in 2005? That doesn't really happen anymore. Why not? More electronics, more software, more things to break. The average lifespan of a modern TV is around 7 to 10 years if you're lucky, and that's assuming no panel defects, no burn-in, and no software updates that slow the system down. What does that mean for your purchase decision? Don't overinvest in features you won't use, and don't assume this TV will last until 2040. Buy for the next 5 to 7 years, know what you need now, and plan to upgrade when the technology changes again. My personal regret story. So here's the moment of truth. Which one do I regret, and why? I regret buying the LG C6 OLED for my living room. Why? Because I thought I wanted perfect blacks and infinite contrast, and I do. Those things are beautiful. But I didn't account for the fact that I watch TV during the day, with the blinds open and 3 windows facing east. What happened? Every morning, the TV looked dim, washed out, and I found myself constantly messing with the brightness settings trying to make it watchable. At night, it was stunning, absolutely gorgeous, the best picture I'd ever seen. But I don't watch most of my TV at night. I watch in the afternoon, in the evening while it's still light out, and on weekends during the day. And in those conditions, the LG just couldn't compete with the ambient lights. What did I do? I returned it within the 30-day window, paid the restocking fee, and bought the TCL QM8K. How's that working out? Much better for my specific situation. The brightness is incredible, I can see everything clearly no matter what time of day it is, and the blacks are good enough that I don't feel like I'm missing out. Is it perfect? No, there's still that slight blooming in very dark scenes, and the interface isn't as smooth as LG's WebOS. But it fits my room, and that's what matters. Who should buy which TV? Would I recommend the LG to someone else? Absolutely, if they have the right setup. If you've got a dedicated theater room, blackout curtains, controlled lighting, and you watch mostly movies and prestige TV shows at night, the LG C6 OLED is going to blow your mind. You'll never want to go back to anything else. But if you're like most people, with a TV in a normal living room with normal lighting, you need to seriously consider whether OLED is the right choice. What about the TCL? Who should buy that? Anyone who values brightness, watches TV during the day, wants great gaming performance, and doesn't want to spend $2,500 on a 65-inch screen. It's also great for sports, HDR content, and if you don't want to immediately buy a soundbar. The biggest lesson. What's the biggest lesson here? Stop buying based on reviews alone. Think about your room, your lighting, your actual viewing habits, not what sounds cool on paper. OLED sounds amazing because infinite contrast and perfect blacks are objectively impressive. But if you can't see those benefits in your environment, you've wasted your money. Mini LED sounds like a compromise because it's not true OLED. But if it gives you a better picture in your actual room, it's the smarter buy. Practical shopping advice. Here's what I want you to do before you make a decision. Go to the store and look at both TVs in person, but don't just stare at the demo mode. Ask the staff to switch them to a standard picture mode, turn off motion smoothing, and see how they actually look. Pay attention to which one is easier to see in the store's bright lighting. That'll give you a clue about how it'll perform in your home. Then go home and measure your room's lighting. Do you have big windows? What direction do they face? Do you have blackout curtains or blinds? What time of day do you watch TV the most? Answer those questions honestly, and the right TV will become obvious. So, final verdict. If you have a bright room, watch TV during the day, and want the best value, get the TCL QM8K. If you have a dark room, watch mostly at night, and want the most accurate picture, get the LG C6 OLED, preferably the 77-inch or larger for the brighter panel. And whichever one you choose, keep the receipt, know your return window, and don't be afraid to admit if you made the wrong call. Returning a TV isn't failing, it's learning. So, that's it. That's the whole story. One of these TVs is going to disappoint someone, and now you know how to make sure it's not you. Drop a comment and let me know. Are you Team Mini LED or Team OLED? And what's your room situation like? I'll see you in the next one.